Hi and welcome to today's video. Today I'm doing a review of a notebook from the brand Milligram. Now Milligram is a online retailer and brick and mortar store here in Australia, the brick and mortar store being in the Melbourne CBD. And they used to be called Notemaker, and they changed to become Milligram and released a wide range of stationery products including notebooks, one of which I'm looking at here today. This is the hardcover linen notebook A5 in the dot grid printing. Really nice notebook. I reviewed one of their other notebooks a little while ago, and it's I'll link to it below. It's very different to this, and there's a huge range of other books that I'll be looking at over the coming months as well. But this is the A5 linen notebook, and I hope you find this video useful. Okay, this is the Milligram A5 linen notebook. Just some really basic specs to start with. We're looking at roughly 21 centimeters by 14 and a half or so centimeters, I think, something around there. So yeah, really standard A5 size. 196 pages of 85 GSM paper, and as you can see, a really interesting, nice sort of linen cover on this book with the elastic strap, and as it does come with this sort of paper band around, giving some basic information. Just, you see there, capture ideas, inspiration or actions. This notebook is filled with fountain pen friendly Italian paper produced using carefully considered materials and created to lay flat when open, designed by stationery lovers in Melbourne, Australia. And on the back it it gives the dimensions right there, 148 by 210 millimeters. So yeah, nice. On the back it says, Milligram's mission is to deliver measured design, beautiful utility, and to spark emotion with every object we create. We have strived to create the perfect notebook. It goes on about a few other things which you can look at if you desire. Then, yeah, so it features inner pocket, ribbon and elastic closure, designed by Milligram in Australia, made in Taiwan. Now, it uses 85 GSM Italian milled Fabriano Boutique Bioprima book paper, fountain pen friendly, FSC certified, and 100% TCF, totally chlorine free. So, it's got a lot going for it on paper, so let's see what the actual book is like itself. So, it has this inner pocket. Now this is not one of the strongest inner pockets that I've sort of felt. The card is sort of a little lighter and it doesn't expand that open really, so it's really for probably a couple of sheets or something, maybe a piece of blotter paper, something like that, not a lot else really. It's got the ribbon and this linen cover. Now I want to talk a little bit about this linen cover. Obviously I have it here in the black. I've got the B5 version in the what they call the terracotta, which I'll be looking at later. But the black does pick up a lot of marks. You can actually see where the band was just from where the book has picked up a few sort of scuff marks, and that is just being carried around, you know, around my house. This book hasn't left the house yet, so it does pick up things. Some of the other colours will pick up less, but even when you think of things like the Baron Fig notebooks, they pick up a lot of marks as well in that sort of lighter grey. But this is like, yeah, this black, it's not as durable in terms of the presentation as, say, the Rhodia Webby or the Leuchtturm books, which, you know, sort of pick up less than this linen does. So in terms of the paper, we've got, firstly on the inside you've got a bit of like an intro page where you can put your details and things like that, and then the actual pages, they're not numbered, there's no index, nothing like that. The dot is quite light. I'm not sure how visible that is on the camera, but it is quite a light dot, which I quite like. It's enough of a guide, but not so much that it's going to get in the way. The branding on the book is minimal, just Milligram on the back, and then it says dot on the front, and the ruled one says rule, and the blank it says blank. So it's their sort of way of showing which ruling mark each book uses. Okay, it does say fountain pen friendly. It also says bound to lay flat. So those are two things I sort of want to put to the test today, and have put to the test. Now, laying flat is an easy one to test. Does it lay flat? Well, I'll let you be the guide. I'll let you decide that for yourself. You can break the spine in so it sits flatter, but for the most part, I don't think that is particularly laying flat. I have done some paper tests, so let's see what I've got there. On the back, there's a little information page. Thank you for choosing Milligram product, designed by stationery lovers in Melbourne, Australia. And it sort of goes on a little bit about the company and all of that sort of thing. We'd love to hear what you think. Well, hopefully you're watching this video. Okay, now here is the ink tests that I've done. Now I've run this through a lot of different inks in several sort of different pens with different wetnesses and different line widths and all those sorts of things. So you've got everything from broad nibs with Noodler's Zhivago through to Sailor Aurora and a Platinum Preppy or Mont Blanc inks. And on this side of the page, all the inks perform really, really well. They look great, the colors pop nicely, there's no feathering or spread or anything like that. Other things I've used include the Palomino Blackwing, which rubs out rather nicely and does write quite nicely on this paper. There's a slight bit of texture to the paper, which I quite like. The brush pen came up well. This is Robert Oster Motor Oil, and you can see that just a little bit of the color depth was sort of dragged out of it in a way, it seemed to sort of absorb into the paper, and as did Lamy Dark Lilac there, which there is no sheen apparent. Sharpie fine liner, Muji gel pens, a rollerball highlighter, and a Sharpie marker. So I've given it a fair sort of a fair slog with a bunch of different writing options here. Let's see how it actually performed. So, fountain pen friendly. Okay, well, yes and no. For the most part, absolutely. Diamine Twilight came through there. Now that was in a broad nib, but still, that doesn't necessarily always come through a lot of things. Noodler's Base Day Blue comes through just about everything, so that was to be expected. Lamy Dark Lilac came through there. That's in my Lamy 2000 with a medium nib, so that really has eaten through, as has Diamine Red Dragon a little bit there. Motor Oil was absorbed but didn't come through too much. Dark Lilac came through a little bit more, and of course the Sharpie marker eats through everything. But what's quite interesting is just how easily you can see things like the highlighter. I'll bring this a little bit closer, but you can see the highlighter through the page in the ghosting. Now, we expect ghosting on a lot of paper, and it is apparent here, but I don't normally expect to see a highlighter ghosting on a book that is designed to be, friendly to ink. I'm going to do a quick writing sample in the book now, just as an example. I'm going to use my the Retro 51 Tornado Lincoln, which is a medium nib, and it has Diamine Ancient Copper in it. So you can hear there is a bit of tooth on this paper. I quite like that. Some of my favourite paper is by the brand Baron Fig, and their paper has a little bit of tooth on it as well. This is okay though, it's not sort of so rough, and the paper is what I would consider of medium absorbency. The fact that the ink does sort of go in, and you do get but you don't get a huge amount of shading or certainly sheen from the inks on this paper. Unless you pull a lot of ink like this, and even there you might be able to notice that the shading is not as apparent as with some other paper. But it performs reasonably well. I would consider this to be not the most fountain pen friendly paper, but more fountain pen friendly than a lot of other notebooks, certainly, unless they are things like Clairefontaine or Leuchtturm, those sorts of brands. So what can we compare this notebook to? Well, firstly, let's talk about the price. This costs, bump the tripod then, as I said, this is $35 Australian. It's not the cheapest notebook on the market. There are other notebooks that compare very, very similarly. We look at the Rhodia A5 web notebook, which I think handles fountain pen ink slightly better. Once again, it's a dot, it's the same size, 192 pages, but is only $29.95 in Australia. Or the Leuchtturm 1917 A5, which once again has really good ink, ink fountain pen friendliness. It comes in a huge range of colors as well, much wider, more durable cover as well, and many more pages, and that's still about the same price as the Milligram book. Even by other more sort of boutique brands, something like the Franklin Christoph notebook with its dot grid, which is a very different sort of dot grid, is, I think, considerably more fountain pen friendly in terms of the quality of the paper. This is actually really lovely paper, and it's a really solid bound notebook as well. And of course, you've got the Greenwood Classics notebook from Greenwood, which is another Australian brand. This is a notebook that at the moment they don't have a dot grid, which I'm hoping they will turn to, because this is a book that does sit flat very easily. It is a softer cover, but it is very durable, and the paper quality is excellent. You still don't get that sheen or high shading that you get on, say, the Rhodia paper, but you do get a really awesome quality notebook that, once again, is Australian made and, you know, considerably cheaper than the Milligram notebook. So why would you choose the Milligram over these other brands? Well, I think that the cover, particularly things like the terracotta or the plain linen covers, look really nice. As I said, the black tends to pick up a little bit of sort of scuffing, and, you know, it looks a bit grubby after a while. But also Milligram as a brand has a huge range of notebooks, and I think that makes this brand interesting. As I said, it's not the worst paper. I think there are certainly worse paper in notebooks that you can get that are widely available. And this would be fine for most fine and medium nibs, nothing sort of too wet, no inks that are sort of too intrusive, like Base A Blue, for instance. So in that sense, absolutely. And all the other pens did perform really well on this paper. And the book does look nice. The elastic closures are excellent. And it's an Australian brand, so, you know, should be supported from that perspective as well. So yes, this was the Milligram linen notebook in the A5 size. Well, that was the Milligram brand A5 linen notebook. As I said, I hope you found this video useful. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Hit the notifications button if you want to stay up to date with the videos that I produce. Please feel free to get in touch with me using any of the platforms listed below, or contact me through any of my videos here. I'm on Instagram. I am at _offstage_me, and I'd love to see what you're up to over there as well. If you've got things you'd like me to look at, please let me know. And if you've got any questions, don't hesitate to ask. In the meantime, enjoy your pens, enjoy writing, and I'll talk to you later.